Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what makes a workout program actually work. We're going to go way beyond just picking exercises and dive into these 7 scientific variables that are like dials you can turn to literally design the results you want.
So let's kick things off with a feeling I bet we've all had. You're doing everything right. You're showing up, you're putting in the work, you're being consistent, but nothing's changing. The progress has just stopped. It's like you're spinning your wheels, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Well, here's the big idea from the material we're digging into today. The answer isn't always to just work harder. It's about working smarter. It's about understanding that there's a real formula, a science, behind why some training gets results and some doesn't. I want you to think about it like this. Your body has a control panel, and on that panel, there are 7 specific dials you can turn. These are your modifiable variables. And learning how to adjust these is the difference between just exercising and intelligently engineering a very specific outcome. All right, let's get into it. We're going to group these 7 variables into a couple of sets. First up are what we'll call the foundational settings. These are the big picture choices that create the entire blueprint for your program. We're talking about choice, order, and frequency. And then we'll get to progression, which is kind of the master variable, once we have all the other pieces on the board. Let's start with choice. Now, here is a huge myth buster. There's no such thing as a magic exercise. You can't just say, oh, deadlifts build strength. The deadlift itself doesn't guarantee any specific result. It's all about how you do it. The weight, the reps, the speed. That's what tells your body what to do. Okay, next style, order. Believe it or not, within any given workout, there's an optimal sequence, and the science on this is super clear. You want to start with the fastest, most brain power intensive stuff first, and work your way down to the slowest. So that means speed and power work, like jumps or sprints, come first, then your heavy strength lifts, then your muscle building or hypertrophy work, and you finish with conditioning.
And there's a really, really good reason for that order. For one, performance. If you do a bunch of cardio first, you're just going to be tired. Your ability to be fast, powerful, and strong is shot, which means you get way less out of those lifts. And 2, it's about safety. Trying to do complex, heavy lifts when you're already wiped out is a perfect recipe for your form to break down. And that's when injuries happen. Our third foundational variable is frequency. And this one's pretty simple, but it's critical. It's just the answer to the question, how often are you training? And as you're about to see, there is no single right answer.
Just look at how much this can vary. It is completely dependent on your goals, your ability to recover, and, your life. An athlete who's in the middle of their season might only hit the weights twice a week, but in the off-season, that could jump to 6 times. And then you have someone like an elite MMA fighter who might be training 16 or more times a week, sometimes doing multiple sessions in a single day. Okay, so now we get to a really fascinating part of the control panel. These next 3 variables, volume, intensity, and rest, they're so tightly connected that you literally can't change one without affecting the other 2. They're like a trio that's in a constant dance with each other. So first up is volume. This is basically the how much of your workout. We figure it out by just multiplying your reps by your sets. You do 3 sets of 10, your volume is 30. It's a really simple, straightforward way to measure your total workload. Then you've got intensity. This is the how heavy. And this is so important. In the world of exercise science, intensity is not a feeling. It's not about how hard the workout felt. It's an objective number. It's the percentage of your 1 rep max, the absolute most you can lift for a single repetition. And finally, the third piece of our trio, rest. And you can't ever underestimate this one. This is that critical recovery time, whether it's the seconds between your sets or the days between your workouts. It's the variable that lets your body refuel so you can come back and do high-quality work again. And this right here is the whole key to understanding this trio. They're always in a balancing act. Think of it like a seesaw. If you crank that intensity dial all the way up to 95% of your max, well, your volume dial has to come down. You can only do a rep or 2. And if you want to do a really high volume workout, you have to turn the intensity down. It's impossible to have all 3 maxed out at the same time. So now that we get how the individual dials work, let's put it all together. Let's see how you would set these dials in different combinations to go after really specific fitness goals. This chart is basically your recipe book. Just look at the difference between training for pure strength versus training for muscular endurance. For strength, the intensity is sky high, the reps are super low, and the rest is long, so you're totally recovered for that next big lift. For endurance, it's the total opposite. Low intensity, tons of reps, and barely any rest. Every single goal has its own unique combination of settings. And that brings us to our seventh and final variable, progression. Honestly, you can think of this one as the master dial that brings everything else together. It's the absolute key to making sure your program keeps evolving so you can smash through those plateaus we were talking about way back at the beginning. Smart progression is so much more than just slapping more weight on the bar. It's this delicate art of gradually asking your body to do more, that's progressive overload, while making sure you're recovering from that stress. But maybe the most important principle here is the last one, adherence. Because let's be real, the most scientifically perfect program in the world is completely useless if you don't actually do it. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? The scientific principles, these 7 variables we just talked about, those are the concepts. There are only a few of them, and they don't change. The art of great coaching and training is in the methods, the endless ways you can choose to apply these concepts for yourself or for your athletes. So the big takeaway here is this. You are the designer. Once you understand these 7 variables, you get to stop being a passive follower of some random workout and become the active architect of your own results. You've got the controls now. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?